If you look at the roots of where carbon taxes come from, they come from the sulfur dioxide cap and trade emissions trading. And it seemed like this was a great way for Enron to make a lot of money. So this idea became elaborated to carbon dioxide. The difference is sulfur dioxide is a very specific kind of gas to industrial emissions in general, whereas carbon dioxide is everything and everyone. So you can imagine a global carbon tax law for Canadians that would decimate Canada because we are a fossil fuel dependent society. We're not in the middle of the Sahara. We are in the middle of one of the coldest, biggest countries in the world. So it would be totally destructive to us. And when you look in terms of democracy, you can see that, these foreign agents, foreign countries deciding your fate based on your carbon emissions would completely decimate your sovereignty and put you at risk of embargoes. I mean, we saw after President Trump stepped out of the Paris Agreement, which was non-binding and voluntary, the first thing that happened is that President Macron of France threatened him with no trade with Europe. So if you don't get back into Paris, I won't let you do any trade with Europe, with the European Union. So, it does become binding because it becomes the lever.
And it's funny now that you mention President Macron because at the time he was sort of the climate change Justin Trudeau of Europe, if you will. He was the anti-Trump at the time. But right now he is facing mass protests in his own country against his carbon tax. And he's agreed to cancel his carbon tax for at least the next 6 months. I don't know why he thinks it's going to alleviate the opposition if he just keeps kicking the ball down the road. But it's funny how the tables have sort of turned on him in this opposition to carbon taxes. They're coming to get him now.
Yes, well, in Europe, there's, I think, around 11,000 companies that are now trading on the carbon markets. And, they're quite interested in pushing that worldwide because there's a group of billionaires, foreign billionaires, the Climate Works Foundation. They've been spending $600 million a year worldwide and funneling that money through environmental groups to try and push this concept of a global cap and trade. And to do that, of course, you need a price on carbon. In the specific instance of Macron, he his country originally told everybody, oh, you should drive diesel cars because you get more mileage and they emit less CO2. Well, it happens that they emit more NOx and more soot. So when it's a humid day in Paris, they have some of the worst air quality in the world because 80% of the vehicles in France now are diesel. So a few years ago, people invested heavily in diesel on the advice of the government. Now the government is saying, okay, we're going to really tax you on your economical diesel, formerly economical diesel. We're going to tell you that you should dump your diesel car and buy an electric one, and that's going to be the law here. And of course, they also instituted this law that everybody had to have one of these yellow vests in their car in case they had a breakdown on the highway. And that's the origin of the yellow vests, because people are like, how much nanny state can we stand? So, it's really, we see that these climate change policies that have been implemented have not been well thought out. The unintended consequences have not been discussed. The cost effectiveness and the cost benefit analysis has not been done.
That's an excerpt from my weekly show, The Gun Show. It airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Each week, I bring you an informal interview with an interesting newsmaker or citizen activist you might not have heard of, but who is making a big difference in Canadian politics. And we'll talk about issues in a way you'll never see done in the mainstream media. To subscribe, go to therebel.media/shows.